Is Payton Thorne really the 14th best quarterback in the SEC? Or are they just hating on our guy? Let's talk about it on this live edition of the Uptempo podcast.
You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, Uptempo gang? Auburn family, Dustin and Blake back with you guys for a special Wednesday night edition. Blake, how are you doing tonight, my guy?
I'm doing well, Dustin. And for all the fans out there that watch this show, I appreciate you. Dustin, I appreciate you. We had to move this thing back tonight. My daughter graduated from kindergarten last night. So I got to watch that. It was emotional. It was fun, man, watching her walk across the stage. We've been rehearsing for this play that she had, and she absolutely nailed it. She didn't forget a line, and she was nailed. So yeah, I was proud of her, and it was a big dad moment for me last night. So yeah.
Blake always the dad. We know that Blake is the dad, and we love that about you, brother. But Blake posted a video on social media. Y'all go check that out. Good stuff. So yeah, no problem, man. No problem at all. Blake, can y'all hear me okay, man? It looks like to me, I'm skipping. My internet's skipping. It skipped on me on the intro there. Y'all got me
you're good. Yeah, you're
okay.
Good.
Good deal. All right. Well, let's get in here, Blake. And like I said in the intro there, if y'all were able to hear me, I certainly couldn't hear myself. But 24/7 put this list out, man. They said that Payton Thorne was the 14th best quarterback in the SEC. And before we hit go on this thing, you were already pretty fired up and pretty opinionated on it, man. So I just want to go ahead and toss it to you because you're ready to go. Blake, well, let's do this first. Let's look at a couple of the guys that he's around on the list, right? So you've got Diego Pavea, is that how you say it? Who is coming into Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him live and in person, unfortunately, last year. We all remember him well. He was a QB at New Mexico State last year. He put on a show. I understand this one, Blake. I don't think at the end of the season he's going to be the 16th ranked. But, you'll look back at it and say, yeah, probably not. But he is a new guy coming in from a group of 5 school, and he's going to Vandy. There's not a whole lot of pieces around him. Like, that is a tough sell. So that one makes sense to me. You have any problem with that one?
No, I'm with you. I think he's going to be a little higher when the season comes and we get into it. But, yeah, the landing spot is Vandy. And I know the kid's good. I know he put on a show in Jordan-Hare. I understand that. But Vandy did lose Will Sheppard. All right, Will Sheppard went out to Colorado. That was your all-SEC receiver at Vanderbilt. So, you lost your whole quarterback room. I think they got Utah's backup, if I'm not mistaken, to go in and compete with Diego. So that's going to be something to watch there. I do think Diego will win the starting job, but I can see 16 being the landing spot for him, and I think that's fair. Like you said, coming into Vandy, not really many expectations. You lost some key pieces. I get that. I get that. That one, man. I'm good.
Good, buddy?
Yeah.
And then we got Lenore Sellers here at 15, right? And I know that South Carolina really, really believes in him. But, again, I'm not going to, this makes sense to me. We haven't seen him go. I know that they're high on him, and we'll see what that means. But haven't seen him play yet. He doesn't have a whole lot of time, so we'll see what happens there. And then PT at 14. You've got Taylor Green at Arkansas at 13. You've got Blake Shapen from Mississippi State coming in at 12. Brock Vandagriff transferred from Georgia to Kentucky. Former high caliber recruit. I believe he was a 5-star, wasn't he? I know he was a high 4-star. Yeah, he was definitely up there. And then Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma at 10. Then you get into Nussmeier at 9 at LSU, and I think that's where we can start to kind of make a case that the list is fair. But that 10, Blake, I know you got a problem with a couple guys on this list being ahead of PT.
Yeah, the Lenore Sellers thing, I'm cool with him at 15. I know they're high. I just don't think South Carolina's got a lot of guys. I don't think they got a lot of dudes. I know they got Rocket Sanders to transfer in, but I still think it's no O-line play. It was terrible for Spencer Rattler. I just don't see you getting any better with Lenore Sellers. So 15's the play there. PT at 14. Well, that's basically just telling me that you went off last year and you don't give a damn about anything, any player that Auburn brought in. You don't care about Cam Coleman. You don't care about Robert Lewis. You don't care about Keandre Lambert-Smith. You don't care about Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, Bryce Kane. You don't care about anybody. You're just going off of what you saw last year. You're just going off of Philip Montgomery and what he ran on offense. And you said, hey, look, it's going to be the exact same thing. So we're slamming Payton Thorne at 14 right here because Hugh Freeze isn't going to change this and he isn't going to get the ball rolling. That's what it tells me when you put Payton at 14. Now, for you to put, what is this kid's name? Taylon Green?
Yeah,
I think he's from Boise State. I think. I'm not 100% sure. I think he's from Boise State. Comes into Arkansas. Now.
Yeah, Boise State transfer.
There you go. Look, you lost your best player, Rocket Sanders. He went to South Carolina. You're in a dumpster fire right now. Arkansas is a dumpster fire. I know they're getting a lot of hype for Bobby P and being the OC coming back. He's going to save. He's not saving anything. Let's be honest.
Heard that last year at A&M.
Exactly. Like, look, he's not saving anything. They're a dumpster fire. They're worse off than we are. Sam Pittman, you look at that schedule, brother. You could be the first one out this year. Like, it's just not looking good for the Hogs. Look like they could be Chris Bacon here shortly. It's just, I mean, that's how it looks. And you're telling me that you're going to rank him preseason better than PT? With who at receiver? You just signed a 28-year-old former MLB player to come in and play wide receiver. Like, I just don't think that there's anything there for you to say, hey, Taylon Green's better than Payton Thorne, and we're going to tab him as the 13th best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. I don't see that, Dustin. I'm sorry, could be wrong. Dude could come in and kill it. Blake Shapen at 12. I have a problem with this one. You're coming from Baylor. First, I'll start with the injury prone. All right, you had a banged up knee last year. You missed a couple weeks. You come back, then you get a concussion. Couldn't stay healthy. You couldn't stay on the field. You come into Mississippi State with what receivers? With what receivers? All right. So last year you had a coaching change. Unfortunately, you know everything that happened with Coach Leach, and you had to have the coaching change there. Your head coach didn't want to be the head coach. Was a prominent DC, comes in, changes the whole scheme. You're not fit for that scheme that you were running, and now you have to get rid of him, and you have to bring in a new head coach, Jeff Lebby, formerly the OC at Ole Miss, then goes out to Oklahoma. He comes in, and now it's his first stint as a head coach, and you're telling me that Blake Shapen's going to come from Baylor to Mississippi State and just all of a sudden light up the world and be better than Payton Thorne? I don't see it. With who? Jaden Wally? Like, right. Who's your guy over there? Who's your playmaker? I don't see one. Yeah, I don't think you have the weapons that Auburn has. And that's my thing with him at 12 is I'm starting to make the case of bumping PT to 12. I think PT could make a case to be 11th or 10th on this list because you got Brock Vandagriff from Kentucky at number 11. A guy who's going to Kentucky, hasn't played hardly at all. All right?
All right.
And you're going to Kentucky. Ray Davis is going to the league. Your best offensive weapon at running back, he's gone. So what do you have at Kentucky? What big name receivers do you have on the outside to help you there? I don't see Kentucky being this offensive juggernaut to say, hey, Brock Vandagriff is better than Payton Thorne. He's in a better situation. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I'm just not connecting the dots here that Brock Vandagriff is going to be better than Payton Thorne in the SEC this year. I actually think Auburn beats Kentucky in their house, and I think that's when we get on the road. So, okay. And then The last one at number 10 is Jackson Arnold. Look, I know he's hyped. I know he's got a lot of momentum coming out of high school, and last year he had to sit, and Dylan Gabriel didn't play the bowl game, and he got to start. Look, kid looked shell-shocked in that bowl game against Arizona. He didn't play well. He threw 2 picks. I think he was like one of his first 8 or 9 in that game. It was rough. It was a rough start. But once again, you're telling me that a guy who's thrown 50 balls in college is just going to come into the best conference in the country day one, Jordan Hare being his first SEC road start, and he's just going to light the world on fire. And he's going to be that much better than Payton Thorne. I'm not buying it. Like I said, you ranking PT 14th just showed me that you're going strictly off of what he did last year. You don't care what Auburn brought in. You're not even looking at the pieces Auburn brought in on the offensive line. Like you're not looking that Auburn brought their entire running back room back. You're not looking at the guys that we got at receiver now. You just tabbed it as, hey, Payton Thorne's terrible. There's no way he can get better. Hugh Freeze didn't fire Philip Montgomery. It is what it is. It's going to be the same thing as last year. That's what this list tells me, is you don't give a damn about this year, and you don't give a damn about looking at what Auburn brought in. You're just trying to, in my opinion, you're just trying to throw a funny up and take another jab at Auburn. That's what I got out of this. And I'll tell you right now, Dustin, if Payton Thorne is the 9th to 10th best quarterback in the SEC, I think we're going to have a fun year. I'm not saying we're going to the playoffs or anything. I think we're going to have fun. I think if you can be around the conversation of a Garrett Nussmeier, who's at 9 right here on this list, I'll take that every single day of the week, Dustin. Like, I'm not asking Payton Thorne to be a world beater. I'm just asking you to, hey, what he throw, 10, 11 picks last year? Let's cut that down. All right? Let's cut it down to 4 or 5. Like, I don't want to see double-digit picks this year. Get the turnovers down. All right? Stop turning the ball over. Stop putting your defense in bad situations. That was my thing with this list. I just didn't I didn't like it. It rubbed me the wrong way. I know as soon as it happened, we were kind of talking about, hey, what could be a great topic? And we both hit on this. So I think it's going to be a fun show, and that's my gripe with it, Dustin.
Yeah, the comment section is popping, guys. I'll get over there to y'all in just a second. I'm going to give my thoughts, though, on this, because there's another angle that I want to ask you about of this. But just on some of these guys, like, I mean, you nailed it, buddy. But some of these guys that are ahead of them, it's like, the experience factor is my thing. It's like, okay, no one's saying that Payton Thorne had a great year last year, and I'm not on here to say that Payton Thorne should be a dark horse for your SEC player of the year or anything like that. But like you just said, if he can get around middle of the pack, and by the end of the season, we're plus in the turnover margin, and our defense is a top 50 defense, and then it just comes down to making plays in those tight games. And, that's a whole other discussion that we have. But, like, it'll certainly put us in a lot better position. And like I told you before we started going, man, if some of these guys, they got to cover every team, right? Like, we are in tune with Auburn. Like, so we know what's going on with Auburn. So we know about Cam Coleman. We've known about Cam Coleman for 2 freaking years, right? Like, we've been locked in on this guy. We know what he is. Well, to them, and fairly and rightfully so, somebody from the outside can look at it and say, well, he's a freshman. There's some hype there, but I haven't seen anything from him yet. And I get that. And I also acknowledge that some of these teams, like, we think that Auburn improved. Well, some of these teams maybe feel like they improved, and they maybe did, right? But you look at Vandergriff at Kentucky. I mean, he hasn't played any football. As a Buccaneer fan, I know he lost his OC because he's the Bucs OC now. So it's like, I just could it be? Could he live up to the high school ranking that he had? Absolutely. He was a dog coming out of high school. I damn sure wanted him to come to Auburn. But
Kentucky brought in, not meaning to cut you off, Dustin, but Kentucky brought in Devin Leary last year. and he was the highly touted kid out of NC State, and they struggled to throw the football. They struggled. Their passing game was a struggle to watch. Ray Davis saved them in a lot of games. I just don't see him coming in and being a world beater at the quarterback position. And their offense they run the football. Kentucky has always played a physical style of football at the line of scrimmage, trying to run it down your throat. And that's what I think they're going to continue to do. And they're just not one of those teams to throw it around the yard 40, 50 times a night. So I don't believe in that.
Yeah, and could it work? Could the new OC at Kentucky? Like, I'm not trying to single out Kentucky here and Vandergriff here. It's a question mark. Like, they have a new OC, a new head coach, a new QB coming in that hasn't played a whole lot of football. Could it connect, and could they do great, or be solid and all that? Sure, but like, Payton Thorne has I know last year was not it, but he does have a good year at a Power 5 level on tape. Something that, what's the kid at Arkansas's name again? Taylor Green? I mean, yeah. Come on, man. And another angle of this too, Blake, that no one mentions this. Payton Thorne ran the ball for 500 yards last year.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can do that again this year and throw for 2,500 and protect the football, that's 3,000 yards of offense from your quarterback, isn't it? Like, if I asked y'all right now, take it or leave it, and I was the football genie, would you take it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's and again, you made a great point about offensive line. Percy Lewis. It's going to make life a lot easier on Payton Thorne, man. He didn't have a whole lot of time versus Alabama. He didn't have a whole lot of time versus New Mexico State. Like, things up front get better, things on the outside get better. And listen, you can pretty much tell if you watch Mike G's interview with Payton. You don't have to. You can just watch that. This is not breaking news. I'm not breaking nothing here. Yep. Watch that and tell me that Payton Thorne had any kind of confidence in Philip Montgomery.
Yep.
Go back and watch it and tell me what you think Payton Thorne thinks of Philip Montgomery from that interview. He didn't say anything, but just read between the lines. Pay attention to, some of his answers. It's kind of smacks you in the face, man. Like, yep. So, we know all that stuff. So a guy from the outside, okay. And then there's another angle from this, Blake, that I want to get at in a second. But I want to get to these comments here and holler at the people that are always in here supporting us. Our guy Brett says we got a 4-star running back, a 4-star offensive lineman, and a 5-star offensive tackle visiting this weekend. Yes, sir. The recruiting is heating up. Y'all know that Hugh Freeze is always going to work. Daniel says they ranked Payton Thorne 14th out of 16 in the SEC QB rankings solely based off last year and not what he can actually do. I have seen his film at Michigan State, and he wasn't a bad QB. Yeah.
Dustin, to this right here, I think you made a great point, too, about the Keon Coleman before we started recording. Dustin said everybody wants to always throw it on Keon Coleman. All right? It wasn't Payton Thorne. It was Kenneth Walker at running back, and it was Keon Coleman at receiver. And he just had two special NFL talents, and that's what made Payton at Michigan State. Dustin kind of laid it out there and was like, hey, could Cam Coleman be his Keon Coleman? Could Cam Coleman make those plays down the field? I mean, look, like Dustin said, he is a true freshman, but we've already seen some of the stuff that he can do on college DBs. We saw it in the 8A game. This kid is going to come in and make plays down the field for Payton Thorne. So that's my thing with it is, like, I agree, Daniel. You made the list off of last year, and there's no way Auburn got better is what these people are telling me at 247. And Dustin, I know you said that all these guys, they have every team to cover and all this. But look, this is what they do. You want to put out a poll, you better get your facts straight, and you better say, hey, look, let me tell you something. I don't think J.D. Pickle or Pickle or whatever his last name is,
Right.
Over at On 3, I think he does a great job. I don't think he would come with this heat without giving us serious numbers, stats, whatever, portal additions, incoming freshmen, 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever. He would break it all down to you and say, hey, this is why I think Payton Thorne is the 11th best quarterback in the SEC. Don't just throw a poll out there and give me some BS and say, hey, I think he's better than 14th. And I see some of the comments. I think if he moves up inside that top 10, like I said, we have a fun year, Dustin.
Yeah, no, you make a good point with that. And because you know how me and you do, right? We're actually, as the summer goes on, we're going to do some SEC content and talk
Mm-hmm.
about, the SEC in general. But we're not gonna put up any list or do anything until we read up and study up.
Yeah.
I'm actively doing this research. So when it comes time, we'll know. So you make a good point there. Miller is here. Miller was here early too. I saw you, man. Middle of the day was in here showing love. Appreciate that. Miss Angela's in the building. Miss Angela, we love you. Chris is here as always. Chris, we appreciate you. Devin was fired up about the show change because she actually gets to make the live show. And Devin, we were glad to make that happen for you. Our guy Auburn Dad, man, congratulations. Today has been a blessed day for our guy. If you saw us post on Twitter and you know what Auburn Dad's going through, praying for you, brother. And I'm glad, I'm glad that everything worked out. Just stay active in those DMs and, we'll do what we can for you. And then we have, let's see, this is a good question here, Blake. Are you ranking the QB or the offense, though? And I think these things kind of can go. I think this kind of goes hand in hand. Like if I was making a top QB list, I would certainly be taking into consideration the system and all that. Like, so I would imagine, for full disclosure, the man that made this list is Brad Crawford over at 247. So I don't know, there's not an intro. You can go check the article out. It's on 247 Sports.
What makes a great QB?
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot in this intro here about how he made the list. So, I don't really know his criteria. What makes a great QB, Blake? In my opinion, I'm a Baker Mayfield guy. I like a guy that'll stand in that pocket and take the hit and lead his team like a dog. That's kind of what I look at. It's one of my main traits I look at.
I agree with that. I'll tell you one thing. The way I look at this list is 2 things that make a great QB. You got to have great O-line play, and you got to have great receivers. All right, those are 2 things that can make a QB. So I look at the list and I see it as, what does Brock have around him? What does Brock Vandagriff have around him? And you're telling me that Kentucky lost their best player on offense, and you're ranking him ahead of PT. This isn't about who's going to have the better NFL career, who's going to get drafted, or who has the higher ceiling to me.
Right.
I got to look at who can have the better season, who's got the better freak on their team, who can Payton throw it up to and say, hey, go get it. All right? That's the way I look at it. Brad might be looking at it from a different angle. Brad's probably looking at it from who has the more upside, who can probably get picked the highest in the NFL draft. And yeah, that probably is Brock Vandagriff. He was highly touted. I think he should have chose Auburn out of high school, but he didn't, and he chose a different direction. And good luck to him at Kentucky.
All right. Wizard Dragon says it's up to Thorne to prove people wrong. He needs to read blitzes and start seeing the open receivers. I agree with you on this. That's why if I was making the list, he'd probably fall around 9th or 10th, right? Yeah, like I'm not claiming he's top 3, top 5, nothing like that. Last year was bad, and he does need to improve those things. And if he comes out in that first opening home stretch of the season, and you feel like these things right here have not improved, it's going to be somebody else. I don't think he's going to sit around and wait on it. But the point that we're making here is, like Devin says, so many of these guys above PT haven't even played significant minutes as a starter. And so, like, yes, we're not sitting here saying that, or I'm not saying that his bad, like it's not a bad experience is better than no experience type thing. I understand that argument. But again, PT has a solid year a good year on tape. And I just have a hard time looking at a guy that's played 3 years of Power 5 football and had a really successful season and had successful like, here's the thing too, even last year, he had good games. So, like, I have seen the good Payton Thorne. I've seen the whatever that was at Baton Rouge too, right? So there's another side of it. But some of these guys, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
So by default, it's kind of like, what is your criteria? Are you projecting here? Like, I don't know, man. And then this is
you showed me Jackson Arnold, Dustin. Like at 10, I've seen him throw 50 balls in college, and he looked lost. So that's another angle, man. You just I don't get it. I really think Bud. The more I think about it, I think he's kind of looking at who has the more upside to go into the NFL, maybe the draft or whatever. Yeah, go ahead and read that one.
Yeah. So this is Blake's favorite talking point in all the sports. There are some people that dubbed KJ Jefferson the next Cam Newton. Now, Greg, he's going to Gus though. KJ still got a year up his sleeve, don't he, Blake?
Look, this is one comparison. I'm not big on comparing people like, oh, that's the next Tim Tebow. No, there'll never be another Tim Tebow. There'll never be another Cam Newton. I hate when people, I hated it. People with KJ Jefferson, he's the next Cam Newton. He wasn't. He was never going to be. He just wasn't that guy. He couldn't stay healthy. He wasn't as accurate as Cam. He didn't have that it factor. He wasn't that guy. Every time KJ would be in a big game, I think about when they were playing Texas A&M in Jerry World. I think it was 2 years ago. They get the ball down on the 1 yard line. KJ snaps it. He goes to dive over the pile and he stretches it and it hits like an Arkansas helmet, and Texas A&M picks it up and they run it 100 yards for a touchdown. Cam Newton, that doesn't happen. Cam Newton's running through somebody. Ask Arkansas, they know. It happened, So I hated those comparisons. I hate when people do that. I get it. It's people at 247 on 3 rivals. It's their jobs to kind of talk about comparisons and things like that. But that's a bad one. That I never understood that one.
So you don't think that KJ is going to go down? He's got VAR now. You don't think KJ and VAR?
That's another one. People, just whatever.
Yes, sir. We let that one ride. Auburn Dapper Live says, but with the pieces around him, and now Hugh in the headset, and continuity on offense, man, between the coaching staff, it just wasn't there last year. The cat's kind of out of the bag at this point. Everyone's heard the stories, and we kind of know what it is. So. We're just hoping that this year it looks a lot cleaner, a lot better. And you were on. Appreciate you being a member for 5 months, my guy. We appreciate your support.
I love that.
And then Thomas says a QB is only as good as his O line and his wide receivers allow him to be. And this is facts, man. I mean, we've seen this at Auburn. I'm going to bring up Chris Todd a lot this summer, so just get over it, damn it.
Yep.
Chris Todd, man, Gus put it around him. You had Ben Tate in between the tackles. You had McCaleb on the outside. You had some guys, Darvin Adams, some guys over there that can make some plays at wide receiver. And it did all right. And then Gus was still like, that's when his system was still fresh. No one had seen it. So the pieces around Chris Todd allowed him to be the best version of himself, give you a solid year. If we can do something like that with Payton Thorne, and I would argue that Payton Thorne has a little bit of a higher ceiling than Chris Todd, like you could get a really good year out of him if everything around him falls in place. And, Thomas, I've known you for a while, buddy, and you focus on the O-line. So you get it. He's got to have the time. So facts. Now, Blake, I want to ask you about this. This chat is popping. I can't keep up with all you guys. Trying to get you in here. Good stuff tonight, y'all. Blake, I'm sitting here reading this list, and I'm thinking, you know what, man? I think this is just a perception thing. I think that people on the outside look at it and say, you know what, Auburn, prove to me that you can throw the ball. I think a lot of this is I don't think that you guys can pass the ball until I see you pass the ball.
Mm.
And I hate it, but I think that's fair, bud.
Look, I text one of my buddies yesterday about this list, and I said, hey, 14th out of 16th. And he said, fair. And he's an Auburn fan, die hard. All right. He said, that's fair. And I was like, here's my clap back. And he was like, well, a lot of this is, hey, shove it, Auburn. All right. We want to see it on the field. We want to see you actually do it. Now, another thing that I love hearing is Hugh Freeze saying, hey, I don't want to be in 12 personnel all the time this year. So that tells me that, hey, we might get this RPO stuff down, and we might, throw it a little bit more and have some more options, and it might free up our boy Rivaldo Fairweather over the middle of the field, and we might not have to split him outside, all the time, and throw 50-50 balls down to him in key situations when we need it the most. So I don't know, man. Yeah, like the people are probably looking at Auburn and saying, "Hey, what quarterback wants to come there? Who would want to come run that offense? Like, it was a disaster, but somehow you still get Juju Lewis on campus, and show us, prove it to us." And I think, yeah, you're right. That's probably could have played a factor in this list, and I think Auburn's just going to be a little different this year. I think Auburn's going to. I think Hugh's going to turn up the heat. I don't think you're going to see the whole mix up like last year. The press conferences were just really awkward, and just trying not to throw somebody under the bus, or it felt like that last year, right? Like, it just kind of felt like after every game there was just weird energy that, hey, I'm not trying to throw this guy under the bus, but I hated what we did here. I didn't even know we were doing this here. And then here on 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, all right, I switch out a quarterback. 4th and 1, I put the other quarterback in, and all this. It was just a cluster, man, and it was exhausting. And so, yeah, you're right. You're right. This is probably from another angle factored in, that they said, hey, prove it to us on the field. Show us. Can you make Payton Thorne a playmaker? Can you put the weapons around him, and can you put it all together and make this work?
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame people for having that line of thinking, because I'm as Auburn as it comes, and I asked myself that same question. Like, man, everything looks like it should be better, but will it actually get better? Blake, I was sitting right next to you when we saw Brady Thompson jump like 7 feet. Y'all remember when Cam Newton dove versus South Carolina? It was he flew from like the 7 or whatever it was and scored the touchdown. If you haven't seen the highlight from the Baker Foley game, which another Auburn receiver, Bryce Kane, had 3 tutties in, Perry Thompson jumped from that far out and caught a ball with his 3 fingers, and then still somehow got his body inside the pylon and stayed in for a touchdown. It was one of the most ridiculous plays I've ever seen up close at a high school game, and I go to a lot of them.
While losing his helmet in the process. Insane.
Yeah,
it was insane.
Yeah, just a dog, just an absolute dog. And we were on the Baker side, by the way, and Blake jumps up and goes, "Ah!" and almost got us in all kind of a heap of trouble.
I couldn't help it, bro. Like, I couldn't help it. Look, I mean, dude is a physical specimen. Like, have y'all seen the tweets that he's sending out, the TikToks? Like, Perry, cuz is shredded, all right? And my boy DG, one of my close buddies, he's got a friend, and he's in the coaching game down here in Mobile. He's got a friend that used to work at Foley, and he said, we went to the Spanish Fort baseball playoff series last weekend, and they played with Tumpka in the 3rd round of the playoffs and everything. And so we were sitting there, and he was like, "Man, tell me a little bit about Perry." And the guy said, "You won't find anybody that works harder. Like, the kid is humble as it gets. He's gonna work hard. You wouldn't know that he was a 4 or 5 star recruit. You would have no idea that this kid, if you didn't know that he was on 3 and 247 and Rivals as a highly touted football player, because he never opens his mouth about it. He don't walk around with cameras on him, an entourage, and all this stuff. Like, dude made a documentary on himself about how he got it out the mud. He was just showing y'all a little glimpse of, like, hey, I didn't have the best upbringing. Like, my parents didn't have it. I did this off of hard work. So I like what I hear about Perry, man, and getting to watch him play those couple weeks that we did. It was a blast, and me being from Mobile, 251 area code, I wish him nothing but the best, man. Like, that's one thing. Watching kids from this area go to Auburn and try to change the face of what the offense has been. Same with Bryce, man. Like, I wish Bryce is 10 minutes up the street from me. So, yeah, like, I want to see those two dudes go change it. I want to see them score a lot of touchdowns in Jordan-Hare, and I love what I hear from both of them.
Yeah, good stuff, man. And quick, use that as our transition here. Quick announcement. Not going to be doing a live show tomorrow because I'm going to be watching. We got some spring games popping off. So we got Caden Hall, who is the class of 2026 safety out of Milton High, about 20 minutes down the road from me. Auburn was the first offer, and now he's picked up offers from just about every school in the country, man. He has shot up the boards, very highly ranked player. Went to a game last year, so our guys that remembers last year, if y'all remember, we did check him out last year. Gonna go check him out again. And Milton's also got they got a couple guys that are shooting up. They got a couple guys that just got ranked 3 stars. They got another wide receiver I think might catch a 4-star soon. So I'm gonna go out there and check those guys out. And then Friday night, Pine Forest and Catholic, if it can happen, if the weather will allow it, and they get that game in Friday, I'll be out there as well. You've got a defensive end that Auburn just offered, and then on Catholic High, and then you have a DB at Pine Forest that Auburn has offered. They're both class of 26, so I'll be out there the next 2 nights, for sure Thursday night. Thursday, it looks like it's going to be clear tomorrow, getting that content in. So me and Blake will converse here, and we'll get up probably sometime this weekend and get a new pod out to y'all. But, we'll put an update in your feeds. We'll put the update on social media. But, so I'll be out there working for you guys tomorrow, getting some content, checking out some recruits, Blake. It's a hard-hitting safety, bro. I would love – we get them guys out of Mobile, man. It's time for Auburn to start recruiting this panhandle, bro. Y'all gotta add a couple. And full disclosure, or, little fun fact, Reggie Slack. Old Reggie Slack is from Milton High, where I'll be going tomorrow.
Yeah.
That was his old high school. So that's where Cade. Yeah. So, man, Auburn's had some guys from Milton High before do a little something. So come on, Auburn, recruit 850, baby. Help me out. Give me something to pull for, man. We got some dogs down here.
Yeah.
And then the War Pour in the house. What's up? It said the list that didn't make a lot of sense. This list didn't make a lot of sense after they got to the 7th ranking. A lot of the dudes that ranked ahead of Thorne have done literally nothing at the college level. This might be Ike. And I watched, we watched Todd's episode. And if you haven't, go check out their episode where they talked about this list. And yeah, Ike kind of just dismantled it. Like, just fun, like Ike can only do. He just kind of fundamentally went through it and dismantled the logic of it. Good stuff. But we're all, we all kind of agree with this. It's like, listen, dude, we're all thinking logically here. We're not saying he's the best QB in the SEC, but come on, man. Come on.
The only reason I didn't make an argument against Nuss is because, I have seen Nuss kind of go off in his limited action. Like, he got that time in the SEC championship game when Georgia absolutely throttled LSU in Atlanta, and he come in and he, he did some nice things and all that stuff. But, like, LSU is that offensive juggernaut. Like, I don't think he'll be anything like Jaden. Now, I don't think he's going to be able to use his legs like Jaden. I don't think he's going to have that big-time playmaking ability like Jaden Daniels. But I think he can lead LSU in the passing game with the receivers that they're going to have, like they always do. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be at that top of the list, top end. That was my thing where when I saw his name, I was like, okay, we got to kind of, the one that I kind of, Wegman, like, stay healthy, my guy. Like, you haven't really, showed me. I need you to stay healthy. Like, I mean, yeah, you against Auburn, you didn't play great. Like, you're not the reason Texas A&M won that game. It was actually because of the, what's his name? Johnson, Brad Johnson's son. I forget. Max Johnson.
Yeah,
Max Johnson come in and actually put on a show against us. So yeah, man. Weird list. A lot of ways to look at it. I think that's why we had fun on this episode, just trying to break it all down.
Yeah, Devin says that was a great episode talking about the war reports. When they broke this list down, and they're going live in about 15 minutes. So we got about 15 more minutes on here, and then y'all go over here and check them out. Auburn Dad says feels weird having spring games still going on this late in the school year. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit later than I'm used to. Normally they were up in April, but it is what it is, man. I'm just hoping that the weather holds out and I can get to that second one because that's the one that I really want to get to because. That defensive end from Catholic, buddy. I'm telling you, if that's the kid from Pensacola that Auburn finally gets, I'm okay. I'm okay with that one. Brett says Reggie had a cannon. Love watching him play. Yeah, man. And Reggie won some big games. Greg wants to know, Blake, where you got this hat at, bro?
Oh, I got this hat off of Fanatics like 3 years ago, man. Yeah, it was like so. Like when I made a TikTok, I hooked up with Fanatics and. I got like a couple deals and I jumped on there and it was on their site. I got it. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
A good QB doesn't need an O-line. He should be able to juke 11 guys and one play do a backflip into the end zone and dance with the cheerleaders without breaking a sweat. Got to carry the whole team, man. It was all Cam. It wasn't those 20-plus seniors that he talked about on the Shannon Sharp show. It wasn't all those guys on that offensive line that had played together for years and we're all seniors at that point and knew what to do. It definitely wasn't that, man. It was all the QB. And listen, that was a whole lot of Cam. I'm not saying it wasn't. But, man, if he could have went to some other teams, he wouldn't have had that year. That's all I'm saying.
It's, look at, do you want to be like Johnny Manziel and running for your life and everything? I mean, look, Payton Thorne's not going to be able to do all that. So, yeah, you got to have an O-line, man. Like, that's one of the things with this list, man. Got to look at the pieces around them. So,
yeah, Saban built that first half of that dynasty off of good O-line, running the ball, and QBs that could protect it. And I mean, even this year they kind of made it with that style, right? They weren't asking Jaden to throw it all over the yard. Or Jalen Milroe. Big Matt says, got to have those top recruiting classes to build that kind of program. Auburn was left in a bad place for a while. Going to take time. Absolutely, brother. Agree with you there. We're not rushing things here. And then he asked, am I the only? I'm assuming you're asking Walker White. You're not asking about Walter White. Are you the only Walker White fan? No, man. No. We both got really high hopes for him. Just gonna, like you just said here, brother. Going to take some time. Going to take some time on that one too. John. What you got, bud?
No, I was just going to say the Walker White thing. I think I can speak for both of us. We're huge fans of Walker White. I personally think we need a Juju Lewis Walker White quarterback competition like we need air. All right. I think it is crucial that Auburn has that quarterback competition on campus next year. So
be fun.
I am a big... Hey, that would be huge. I'm a big Walker White fan. I think he's a dual threat guy. He's got a big arm. He showed that in the Under Armour. What was it? The Army All American. Yeah, one of the military All American, but whatever it was. He showed that. He showed the big arm. He showed his capability to get out of the pocket and move and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I think we need a big-time quarterback competition. I think the QB spot at Auburn is trending upwards. As bad as it's been, somehow, Papa Hugh is recruiting. I mean, it's crazy, but Auburn will be there, man. We're just patient. We'll get there.
Devin says, speaking of patience, Devin says, pump the brakes on Auburn making the playoffs. I don't know which one of y'all in the comments said this, but I'm glad if it was said, I'm sure Devin came and checked you. So let's just have a winning season first. And yeah, Devin, you're speaking my language. This is a question that me and Blake will probably receive 1,000 more times this offseason. Can Auburn go 10-2? Buddy, I'm just trying to have more wins than losses and maybe get a bowl trophy at the end of the season before I start worrying about even an expanded playoff, because we act like it's going to be so much easier now. And you know, like Auburn sniffed being in the top 12 in the last 4 or 5 years. Like, get out of here, man. It's going to take some time, man.
Yeah, bro. Like,
We're not that yet.
Look, we could have one of those magical, 2013 seasons, but I doubt it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not going into it, just, Auburn can make the playoffs. I know we're going to lose. I know we're going to take our lumps. Just trying to really and truly, I want to get to 8-4. I want to get to 8-4, and I know people laugh at that from other fan bases. They're like, "Oh, that's all Auburn cares about is getting to 8-4." No, it's called a rebuilding process. All right, it's called being patient and trusting what Hugh Freeze is putting down in this program. So, like, getting to 8-4 would be huge. I feel like that'd be like kind of a big year of success, and you bring in that next recruiting class, Dustin, and then that 2025 season, that's where I would kind of be like, all right, now, like, 9-10 wins, like I need to see 10 right here. Like, I need to see Auburn back in that national spotlight right now. So yeah, this year, let's pump the brakes.
Yeah, so
let's
what
have
I
fun
do,
though.
I gotta have fun. Plus, but you can have fun if you set your expectations right. If you look at it and
Yes.
say, hey, I know where we're supposed to be. We've had 3 losing seasons in a row. If you have the right expectations, if you know what you need to be looking for, then this year could be fun.
Thanks.
And I want to, like, we got a couple minutes here, so I do want to touch on the top players on the list, just to kind of round it out. But Greg says that's Mike G. It's Mike G. You're right, Greg. I do believe. Maybe be Wheeler Caesar, but y'all show yourself. Identify yourselves. And then Richards, he agrees with us. He says, yeah, the best problem Auburn could possibly have is too many good players, especially QBs. Every position, brother.
Yep.
Every position. Stack them up. You want to be in that position where, why this guy transfer out? Why this former high 4-star transfer out? Oh, because there was a bunch of other ones in front of him. He just didn't get a shot. That's where you want to be. Looking at the rest of this list, man, let's go to the top. I'll kind of skip through the middle of it. I'll read off the middle of it, but we'll touch on the top. Then you got Garrett Nussmeier at LSU at 9. Because you hit the nail on the head with this one, Blake. It's just perception, I think. Like, he has shown some stuff, but LSU's shown as a program they can sling the pill. So I get it. Wegman, Graham Mertz at Florida. I'm okay with this one. I think Graham Mertz is a solid college quarterback.
Dustin, I'll throw in here real quick. I think you want PT to kind of have the year that Graham Mertz had with Florida. A lot of people down the hell out of him. They were, hey, he's terrible. He's not going to last in the SEC. And he actually come into Florida and had a pretty decent year. I think he threw like 20 touchdowns to like 3 picks. I think his completion percentage was like 70% or something like that. Like, he didn't have a bad year, man. Like, pretty serviceable. So I kind of think that's, I don't think PT raises the completion percentage to 70, but, just you kind of want him to have that Graham Mertz year where, hey, everybody thinks you're terrible and you kind of come in and prove some haters wrong.
Yeah, and they're just in a tough situation at Florida right now. But he's not going to change that himself. And you got Nico at Tennessee. I'm not even going to touch on the kid's last name. Brady Cook at 5, Blake. I don't like this. Jalen Milroe at 4. Listen, I'm not with that. Jackson Dart at 3. Quint Ewers at 2. Beck at 1. If I was just switching this around, Blake, I believe I would have Ewers 1. I would have Cook 2, Beck 3, and Dart 4. And then I guess Milroe 5. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I can't. I'll finish out with this, Blake, and I'll let you close this out. I'm not with Brady Cook at 5. I think he's a hell of a player. I think he's got his weapon, like a weapon coming back.
The-
I think they had a hell of a year last year. That program appears to be going that way. Like I don't know about that one, man. And then I think that Quint Ewers, if Texas can hold up on the offensive line over the course of an SEC season, and I'm not insinuating that they can't. I'm just saying I don't know yet. It's their first year in the SEC. If they can, I think Quint Ewers will at very least be at the Heisman ceremony. But I haven't made my pick yet, man. But he might end up being my pick to win the thing, Blake. That's kind of where I stand on the rest of the list. Yeah.
Bro's a dog. Those deep balls that Quinn Ewers throws are a thing of beauty, man. He goes and talks to God on a couple of them. And that throw in Bryant Denny to, I think it was Xavier Worthy. It might have been AD, but he threw that puppy up there and put the air under it. So Quinn's a dog, man. Yeah, the Brady Cook thing. Jalen Milroe. Look, no shot at Alabama. I'm just coming to you straight in what I see when I turn on my TV and I'm watching these two guys compete. Bud, let's talk, brother. Like, just say, hey, man, he plays for Alabama and keep it moving. Because there's no way you think Jalen Milroe is a better quarterback than Brady Cook. Like, no shot, man. You can throw out the Luther Burden stuff and all that. Yeah, Luther Burden top. I think this year he's probably the best returning wide receiver in the country.
Gotta be. Who's better?
Yeah, like I know Maserati Marv. He's gone. Yeah, I mean he's got to be the best in the country coming back. So I mean. Take him out of it. I still think Brady's a dog, man. He's got the arm. He's a playmaker, man. He can use his legs. Solid kid, and he's one of those. He's one of those dudes that didn't transfer either. He's one of those guys that kind of he stuck it out at Missouri and worked his tail off, and he got things right with Drinkwitz. So yeah, man, I don't get the list, but I think Quinn's a dog. I'm with you with Jackson Dart. I think Quinn could. Yeah, I think Quinn could be the Heisman, man. I really do. We're kind of worried about, can they compete with the SEC schedule? What's it going to look like? Can he stay healthy? Because last year Malik Murphy had to come in and they went on a stretch where they almost lost to like some bum teams in the Big 12. Well, now this year you're not going to get to go play Iowa State and all that, big dog. Like, it's
right.
Cream of the crop over here. Like, there ain't no going to Ames, Iowa, or wherever it's at. And I know we'll get a Big 12 fan in the comments and say that's one of the most hostile environments in college football. Yeah, whatever. All right. Yeah, so I agree with that, man. I think Quinn's a dude. I think he's a heck of a quarterback. And if I was an NFL GM, he would definitely be at the top of my board. But Jalen Milroe would not. And I saw a list the other day. This is how serious I take those lists. It said that Jalen Milroe will be a first-round draft pick. Crazy. Like, I don't get it. But yeah, I hate lists.
Well, yeah, I feel you, buddy. So we appreciate you guys joining, man. Hit that like and subscribe if you have not. Good stuff tonight, man. The chat was popping off. Blake definitely brought the heat. Like I said, stay tuned this weekend. Just follow us on social media or just look there in your feed. We'll at least post an update on the YouTube channel, letting you know when to look for the next show. And I'll go ahead and tell you all the topic. Vern Funquist, who isn't that Chris Smaller or something like that? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I just know the Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he posts his graphic. Me and Blake were talking about it. Arkansas, it's most regular season game versus ranked teams in the last 10 years. Arkansas has played 53 and Auburn has played 49. So last 10 years, boys, we have played the second most ranked teams in the entire country. So we'll dive into that and kind of what that means for Auburn. What should reasonable expectations mean for Auburn? We got to get out of here. We love you guys. We appreciate all of you. for our members. Going to get that content for you guys in the next couple of days, so stay on the lookout for that. Hit the like and subscribe, and now go over there to the War Report and hang out with our guys over there at the Midweek Report. We love all y'all, man. War Damn Eagle. We'll catch y'all on the next one.
War damn, baby.